Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabriel, coming at you straight from Queens, New York, and today we are going to continue to unpack BLM. We are going to be looking at their website in their about section and going point by point to see what we can learn, what good points they have if they make any, what bad points they have if they make any, and just literally unpack it. Okay, so we are going to go back here to Black Lives Matter, the website, blacklivesmatter.com. You go in the about section. In my previous video I covered this part about the website. I went through all types of things that they talked about here. I went through the Martin murder, according to them murder. I went through the what they mean by what they mean by white supremacy, etc. So now we are going to click on the next part here, which is what we believe, and we are going to start reading. Again, it's just going to be the same layout as the last video. I'm going to read, and if I have a tab that I want to point to and make a comment about, then I will do so. So what we believe. 4 years ago, what is now known as the Black Lives Matter organization, Black Lives Matter Global Network, began to organize. It started out as a chapter-based, member-led organization whose mission was to build local power and to intervene when violence was inflicted on black communities by the state and vigilantes. I'm actually going to see if this works real quick. Should be, yeah, that way you guys can still see me while I read. Okay, so in the years since, there's nothing really much for me to comment on there. They're just it's more of the same rhetoric. One thing that I will say is their continued use of this term here, right? It's violence inflicted on black communities by the state and vigilantes, right? So that's an important thing to know. What they mean by the state is government, right? Any type of government, any type of government power, government institution, that's the state. Vigilantes is any individual person, whether they work for the state or not. If you in any way get into a conflict with a black individual, and you are a vigilante. Okay. In the years since, we've committed to struggling together and to imagine and creating a world free of anti-blackness, where every black person has the social, economic, and political power to thrive. This right here is, I don't have a tab open to it. I just want to make a quick comment on it. This comment here, imagining and creating a world free of anti-blackness, where every black person has the social, economic, and political power to thrive. I would argue that this is the case today in America, especially in America. Black people in America are the wealthiest black people on all the planet. Okay. Social power to thrive. They're making the claim that currently black people do not have the social power to thrive. I disagree completely. Socially, black people are loved in this country. I mean, just take a look at the news cycle. Any type of action taken against a black person is condemned wholeheartedly by all parties. Economic power to thrive, again, as compared, and here the economic power to thrive, right, is wealth, right? Compared to what? Compared to Africa? Compared to Australia? Where do black people have more economic power to thrive than in the United States? Canada? Mexico? And then we have here political power to thrive. Political power, as in holding office, right? Political seats in the House and the Senate. Yes, black people do have the political power to thrive. I mean, we're on blacklivesmatter.com. This is political. If you haven't, check out the donation tab. Look where it takes you. It takes you to Act Blue. What is Act Blue? If you haven't done so already, I suggest that you look it up, right? Because the money you donate to BLM goes to Act Blue. Where does Act Blue spend that money? Just look it up and tell me that this is not political power. Not to mention that we had 8 years of a black president. That is quite literally the highest form of political power an individual can have. So this statement here, in my opinion, is false. And anti-blackness is just a bad idea. Just like anti-whiteness is a bad idea. Anti-Asianness is a bad idea. Anti-Indianness is a bad idea. Anti-Latino-ness is a bad idea. You will never be able to eradicate a bad idea, because people are free to have bad ideas in this country. Moving on. Black Lives Matter began as a call to action in response to state-sanctioned violence and anti-black racism. All right, this is a bold claim. Provide your evidence. What state? And they don't actually, when they say state, they don't mean individual state, right? They're talking about government, right? Government sanctioned violence and anti-black racism. Name any legislation, Jesus. Yeah, I think so. I'm making a video right now, You never get to stop being a father and husband. So anyways, like I was saying, government sanctioned violence and anti-black racism, right? So where's the legislation? Where is the law? Where is the politician who is actively calling for anti-black racism? And notice how it's anti-black racism specific. It's not and racism. It's not state-sanctioned violence and racism. No, it's anti-black racism specific to black. Our intention from the very beginning was to connect black people from all over the world who have a shared desire for justice to act together in their communities. The impetus for that commitment was and still is the rampant and deliberate violence inflicted on us by the state. Okay, so it's a bold claim to say that the government is rampantly and deliberately inflicting violence on an entire group of people, when we can see, as a matter of fact, that that's not the case. I mean, President Trump, right? He not too long ago passed the First Step Act. If you don't know what the First Step Act is, it is the first major step in prison reform that this country has seen in decades. Something that even the Obama administration could not complete. Something that has benefited black and brown communities throughout the country. So it's a very bold claim with very little backup, with actually no backup. Enraged by the death of Trayvon Martin and the subsequent acquittal of his killer, George Zimmerman, We went over that case in the previous video, and the same can be said here. The criticism that I have is that they frame it as if Zimmerman killed Martin in cold blood, and Martin was not doing anything, right? They frame it as if Martin was not on top of Zimmerman, beating him ground and pound style, right? They leave out the part where Martin became the aggressor and was actively threatening to murder Zimmerman through his actions, right? But let's leave that alone. And inspired by the 31-day takeover of the Florida state capitol by Power U and the Dream Defenders, we took to the street. So the 31-day takeover of the Florida state capitol this was in response to the Zimmerman case, and it's just a really bad. The Dream Defenders is an American group aimed at ending police and prisons, especially private prisons, as part of their policy, and is geared towards people of color who share the goal of multi-racial organizing. Among other goals, they espouse to end the school to prison pipeline by ending prisons, police, and redefining notions of freedom and safety. So this group, again, it's Wikipedia, and I've already stated that Wikipedia is not a academic source, but it is kind of a coalition of global knowledge, where because there's so many editors, the obviously false things get edited out, so it's a good place for like collective knowledge. So, and also it leans left, right? So I mean, come on, bro. Ending prisons and police is the goal, right? That's been the goal since the Zimmerman, since after the Trayvon Martin shooting. It's been the goal, right? This is something new. They actively want to end prisons and police. End. It's not refund, defund, reallocate. It's none of that. It's end. Abolish. Okay? This is what they want. So that's what the Dream Defenders Act groups are. And let's keep going here. A year later, we set out together on the Black Lives Matter Freedom Ride to Ferguson in search of justice for Mike Brown and all of those who have been torn apart by state-sanctioned violence and anti-black racism. Okay, so here we go again with their second big kind of case where a black person dies. Oddly enough, this one was actually involving police. The Zimmerman case, the Trayvon Martin case, no police were involved in that. Not a single one. Okay, that was a civilian versus another civilian. This here, the Michael Brown case, does in fact have a cop involved in it. All right, so this is when we start to see the whole narrative shift. All right, so because now we know today, everybody that talks about BLM says that it's for ending police violence, right? And they've kind of promoted that as well. I mean, and they've always kind of promoted it by saying state-sanctioned violence and anti-black racism, right? So they always try to frame it as if the government is against them, right? You know, it's this idea that there is this giant group and organization that is everywhere and is, you know, it's kind of like a god to them. You know, racism is a god to BLM. It's everywhere. It touches everything. You can't escape it even if you try, you know, that type of thing. So let's take a closer look at the Michael Brown shooting. All right. So on August 9th, 2014, Michael Brown, an 18-year-old black man, was shot by 28-year-old Ferguson police Darren Wilson. They of course got to put that he was white, because Wikipedia is left leaning, so of course they gotta make it race based. Suburb, blah blah blah. Wilson said that an occasion when Brown attacked Wilson in his police vehicle for control of Wilson's gun until it was fired. Johnson claimed that Wilson. All right, so just to make the, because it's such an obvious case of self-defense. It's actually ridiculous. All right, so let's go over what's happening. Michael Brown, his buddy Dorian Johnson, and the cop Darren Wilson. Right, Dorian Johnson is a friend of Michael Brown. Okay, so Brown was accompanied by his friend. All right, so they're chilling together, right? So Wilson said that an altercation ensued when Brown, so Wilson is the cop. The cop said that an altercation ensued when Brown attacked the cop in his car for control of the gun until it was shot. Johnson claimed that Wilson initiated a confrontation by grabbing Brown by the neck through his car window, threatening him and then shooting at him. At this point, both Wilson and Johnson state that Brown and Johnson fled, with Wilson pursuing Brown shortly thereafter. Wilson stated that Brown stopped and charged him after a short pursuit. Johnson contradicted his account, stating that Brown turned around with his hands raised after Wilson shot at his back. According to Johnson, Wilson then shot Brown multiple times until Brown fell to the ground. In the entire altercation, Wilson fired a total of 12 bullets, including twice during the struggle in the car. The last was probably the fatal shot. Brown was struck 6 times, all in the front of his body. All right. So even in the initial type of report, let's call it, there's conflicting stories. And what we find out here, and a quick note that I want to make, this applies to the Michael Brown case as well as to the Trayvon Martin case. This was during the Obama years. This was Obama's America. All right. This was something that Obama facilitated. It's something that he encouraged. Right? Obama did not unite the people. Obama actively pursued division. All right? People are accusing Trump of doing the same. Well, if you're accusing Trump of doing of seeking division, then you must also accuse Obama of seeking division, because the same things are happened during his time as president. Okay, let's not be hypocrites. Okay, Department of Justice, new prosecutor. So let's go down to the witness accounts here, because I like to go to a witness account because witnesses aren't reliable, but it gives us an idea. If we can read multiple witnesses, we can kind of piece together what happened, right? Let's go down to witness account. Multiple witnesses saw part of all the event and have given interviews with the media, testified to the grand jury, and were interviewed by the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ. This was Obama's DOJ. The witness accounts were conflicting on various points. A criminologist said eyewitness testimony often differs from witness to witness, a phenomenon known as the Rashomon effect. In Associated Press, okay, so Wilson gave his account of the incident in an interview with a detective on August 10th and in testimony before the grand jury in September. Wilson said that he had left a call involving a sick person when he heard on his radio that there was a theft in progress at a local convenience store. So that's Wilson's thing, right? So then we have here a corroborating testimony. Numerous witness accounts were consistent with Wilson's account and also agreed with the physical evidence at hand. Many witnesses corroborated that Wilson acted in self-defense during the event, and then it's going to go through a whole bunch. Several witnesses who originally testified against Wilson were also interviewed by the prosecution. Right? So this is the thing. The people that told the story the same way that Wilson told the story, even when under the pressure of being, under oath and all that, told the same story, right? Because it's easy to tell the truth because you don't got to think about it, right? That's different when you're lying. When you're lying and you're put under pressure, things tend to change about your story. And what happened with the people that contradicted Wilson's story? Well, they testified against Wilson, were also interviewed by them. They admitted to lying under oath as to the truthfulness of their testimony. At least one witness took an account from a newspaper. This witness was later discredited by investigators during the process. Witness 22, who originally claimed she saw Wilson kill Brown in cold blood, admitted that she lied to an investigator and never saw the incident at all. She said that she was just passing along information which her boyfriend told her he saw. You gave two statements. Were both of the statements true? No. I just felt like I want to be part of something. I didn't see what I told the FBI what I saw. Prosecutor also played the grand jury a 10-minute police interview with a man who claimed to have witnessed the shooting. They then played a phone call in which that man admitted he actually had not seen the incident at all. Another witness insisted another officer was with Wilson at the time of the shooting. By all other accounts, Wilson was the only officer present when he shot Brown. This witness described having a clear view of what transpired despite there being a building between the witness's location and where the incident took place. Witness 35 said Brown was on his knees when Wilson shot on him in the head. Under questioning, his testimony fell apart and he admitted fabricating it. So we continue to see this was what happened during the case, right? Because let's not forget, a lie can travel around the world before the truth has a chance to put on its shoes. Another witness described Brown on Another witness testified that during the conversation in Wilson's vehicle, Wilson shot Brown point blank in the chest, but Brown did not fall over and was not clearly bleeding as he ran away. This witness gave several different accounts of how many shots were fired. While he was further pressed for answers as to the truthfulness of his statement, he instead posed questions in return, refusing to elaborate on his statement. You told three different stories in the time we've been here today, so I want to know which one is really your memory, or did you see this at all? If none of my stuff is making any sense, like, why do y'all keep contacting me? Gave his account incident. So this is the guy that was with him. In media interviews, Johnson said I wasn't pulled up behind him. Get the other sidewalk. The young man replied, "We're not but a minute away from their destination. They will shortly be out of the street." Wilson drove without saying anything and in front and Raleigh backed up, positioning his vehicle across in the path. Wilson tried in his summary in September. You want to say he walked in the. All right, you can read this all on your own, right? Like, I was just skimming through it. It was just funny. I felt it was gonna be funny to just look at the difference, right, in between the corroborating testimonies and the contradicting testimonies, and just see where the truth lies. Right? If you have one side that is just consistently saying the same story, even under pressure, and you have one, and the other side is the one that's fumbling over their words, over the story, not getting all these details correct, you know which side is lying. Okay? So, and this is also where the whole hands up, don't shoot nonsense started. This is completely and utterly debunked. All right? This man never had his hands up. He never said don't shoot. Okay? We go here. I'm gonna go one more thing real quick before we leave. Maybe a quick evidence presented to the grand jury showed that the shooting scene extended approximately 184 feet near where the two-lane street runs. Evidence at the scene was generally clustered around Wilson's SUV on the western side of the ground, which was was found on the gun. His DNA was also found on the left thigh of Wilson's pants and on the side driver window. Said blood was found on Wilson's gun and inside the car. The tissue from Brown was found on the exterior. So at the end of the day, what happened? Right? At the end of the day, what happened was that the evidence, the material evidence, at the evidence collected at the crime scene, as well as witness testimony, pointed, all of it pointed towards the fact that this Wilson guy was acting in self-defense when he shot Michael Brown. What does that mean? That means that this was not a racially motivated shooting. This was not state-sanctioned violence against black people. This is a guy who was protecting himself from somebody who was trying to kill him. It's simple. Once you need to apply all these type of conspiracy theories and nonsense, that's when you know you're wrong. And that is exactly what Black Lives Matter did when it comes to this Ferguson nonsense. Okay, so let's keep reading here. Forever changed, we returned home and began building the infrastructure for the Black Lives Matter global network, which even in its infancy has become a political home for many. Ferguson helped to catalyze a movement to which we've all helped give life. Organizers who call this network home have ousted anti-black politicians, won critical legislation to benefit black lives, and changed the terms of the debate on blackness around the world. Through movement and relationship building, we have also helped catalyze other movements and shifted culture with an eye towards the dangerous impacts of anti-blackness. Nothing much to say there except that we have a reiteration of exactly who it is that they aim to help. It's exclusively for black people. Let's not. They've said it so many times already. Yes, this is an identitarian movement. Okay? These are the results of our collective efforts. The Black Lives Matter Global Network is as powerful as it is because of our membership, our partners, our supporters, our staff, and you. Our continued commitment to liberation for all black people means we are continuing the work of our ancestors and fighting for our collective freedom because it is our duty. I would say one point to this. I feel like you are fighting against the work of your ancestors, because when you say ancestors, the first person that I think about is MLK Jr. And to think that people right now are pushing for a movement that seeks to divide black people from the rest of the community, that seeks for black people to be treated differently because they are black. That's everything that MLK Jr. did not want. He didn't want to be judged based on his skin color. He didn't want his daughters to be judged based on his skin color. Merit is what matters. Content of character is what matters. Every day, we recommit to healing ourselves and each other, and to co-creating alongside comrades, allies, and family a culture where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. I was originally going to make like a play-by-play of everything that they're saying here with my tabs, but instead I'm going to read all of these, and then I'm just going to go through my tabs and just make comments as I go when I'm playing my tabs, because they're all videos. You can find them on YouTube, and it's just interesting to see how the actions of their members directly contradict the things that they're saying here, and the actions of their member have all to date been excused and praised by the leadership. We acknowledge, respect, and celebrate differences and commonalities. We work vigorously for freedom and justice for black people and, by extension, all people. See, and that directly, this line right here, I don't have a clip for it, but this line right here, this directly reminds me of Hitler and the Nazi Party, because they said Hitler, I can't like, it's dumbfounding. Hitler believed that by making Germans, you know, the number one power, and by eliminating the Jewish, that they are bringing freedom and justice to German people and, by extension, all people. Right? It's the same mentality that these authoritarian types have. I'm doing what's good for me, and by extension, everybody, because I am a just God King. You know what I mean? You need to pay attention to these type of things. That's the whole point. We intentionally build and nurture a beloved community that is bonded together through a beautiful struggle that is restorative, not depleting. Restorative, not depleting. I kind of feel like that's a lie, because there are plenty of images of Black Lives Matter rioters destroying black-owned businesses, killing black people. More black people have died during the riots than black people have been shot for in the last 2 years by police. So, you're not depleting? I beg to differ. We are unapologetically black in our positioning, in affirming that Black Lives Matter. We need not qualify our position. Interesting. We need not qualify our position. This right here is the line that made me think, oh, I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a cult. They believe that what they believe is gospel. They don't need to defend their position. It's just, it is what it is, and it is true no matter what, right? We need not qualify our position. No evidence required. Nothing of the sort. Okay. To love and desire freedom and justice for ourselves is a prerequisite for wanting the same for others. We see ourselves as part of the global black family, and we are aware of the different ways we are impacted or privileged as black people who exist in different parts of the world. We are, and that's the thing. They contradict themselves, right? Because you said multiple times, you know, that you're trying to end state-sanctioned violence against black people, but then you also are saying that you're privileged as black people. Because if the state is against you, you're not privileged. Okay? We are guided by the fact that all Black lives matter, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, immigration status, or location. See, and this right here again is another falsity. It's a straight up lie. I'm going to actually go to one of my clips here, which I played in the last one, but I played it without audio. So I'm going to play it with audio this time. And that is the Don Lemon and Terry Crews interview, where Don Lemon kind of lets the cat out of the bag and tells everybody what BLM is for. Let's take a quick listen.
I don't think you should be surprised by that. I have a skin as tough as an armadillo because of what I do, and I think maybe you should adapt that. But here's what I have to say. The Black Lives Matter movement was started because it was talking about police brutality. If you want an all Black Lives Matter movement that talks about gun violence in communities, including, black communities, then start that movement with that name. But that's not what Black Lives Matter is about. It's not an all encompassing. So if you're talking about,
It's not an all encompassing. Don Lemon is a very popular figure amongst the left. He has a huge following. He is loved and adored by the United States of America. And he is an advocate for Black Lives Matter. He is a supporter of the movement, and he himself contradicts the movement. He says that it is not about all black lives. So which one is it? Because your members and your website are saying two different things. And I don't think that's by accident. We make space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead. We are self-reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgendered privilege and uplift black trans folk, especially black trans women who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. They make it seem as if trans antagonistic violence is the main source of violence for the trans community, and it's not. We see the data. It's easy to look it up. I didn't bring this up, but the data in homosexual relationships is clear, right? They're more violent with each other than any other group is violent towards them. So let's deal with that problem first. Okay? We build a space that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. And see, this is the whole, sexism and, we live in a sexist and misogynistic society. We don't. There are aspects of our society that are sexist, but that works both ways. It's not just sexist in a way that benefits men. It is sexist in a way that benefits women as well. And environments in which men are centered isn't necessarily a product of sexism or misogyny. Oh. 1 second.